Greetings, this is Waging Peace Part 2. My recounting of a little journey I took this year to meet Mr. Takashi Tanemori, who I mentioned the first part. I learned from a documentary the day the bomb dropped. And I want to show a book again that I picked up. So after I saw the documentary about him, I found this book that he wrote. It's called Hiroshima Bridge to Forgiveness. And I've got my copies, or my copy on Amazon. I found a few other copies for some friends and family. You can buy them less than $10. Like new, or some are signed or whatever, maybe $60 or something like that. But you can definitely get a copy cheap. So, but it's not cheap in terms of its importance or value. So the reason why I'm sharing this story and why I really believe it's worth giving your time and attention to getting to know about this man is because, no surprise, there's a real atmosphere of animosity just in the public sphere. If you listen to the news at all, maybe you stop listening to news because of that. And living under the shadow of nuclear war ever since I was a kid, and just that whole conversation being revisited ever since this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict war is what it is, and just other countries' involvement in that. So there's just a lot of animosity going around, and a lot of polarization and fighting, and there are people who are trying to bring some resolution, bring about some change, make things better, but a lot of the time it's done in a very extreme way. And I see that in Tanemori-san's journey, he comes to a place that I believe is a very important place for all of us to learn how to pursue peace, make peace, address conflict, seek reconciliation, okay, and bring about change. So let me just sort of kick off here a little bit about his story. I mentioned a little scene about when the bomb actually dropped, but so here's a little detail about him. He was born in 1937 in Hiroshima, Japan. And his parents, his father, his name is Sadao Tanemori. They're descended from this very famous ancient Tokugawa shogun family, the Moruni Tachi Aoi. I don't know if I'm saying Aoi properly. And I believe it was like 8th or 10th generation from. And so his father held to these samurai standards for his life that he passed on to his son. And I'll just give one example. He said, "Be true to the ancestral samurai way. Jidai Yusen." This one is called sacrifice one's own immediate needs for a higher moral purpose. So that was just an example of one of the things his father taught him. And he would attempt to instill these values, in his son's heart and mind, all the way up to the time, of the bombing when Tanemori-san was 8 years old. So he has very vivid memories, especially those days leading up to the dropping of the bomb. His parents must have had a sense that there was some impending disaster to the city. Hiroshima was actually a very prominent city that was important militarily, and they were just kind of waiting for something to happen. Because nothing had happened to Hiroshima up until that point. And so there was just a lot of tension and suspense in the air, from what I understand. And so his father became kind of urgent about instilling this understanding in his son's heart about these standards. And I'll share some others along the way. So his mother's name was Yoshiko. Let's see, Nakamura, and then so she had not so much of a, from a Japanese point of view, a respected background. As a matter of fact, she had been sold by her mother. It's quite a sad story, to another family. And so when Tanemori-san's father married her, it was really kind of considered a dishonorable thing. And so the family really fought to gain honor, in some respect, let me say, in the eyes of the community. And so one of the ways for that to happen is to have a son. The firstborn son is considered, this very son of honor, this child of honor. And I encourage you, as you listen to this, don't judge, the Japanese culture by American standards, and don't judge the past by the present. You're welcome to, I suppose, in a sense, but understand, we're all going to be judged in 100 years as people look back on our day and question like our ways and our judgments and our actions and our values. I imagine it's just easy to look back and judge others and across the pond that way. So basically what happened was their first child was Satsuko, a girl. This was a disappointment to the families, including his father and mother. This sounds terrible. Even to the midwife, she apologized. This is really, it's a sad, kind of a sad situation to be judged for that. It's, when we, every child is a gift. My firstborn is a girl. I'm so grateful for her and for our son. So the firstborn is Satsuko, and then here they get pregnant again. Second child is a girl. So it just digs in deeper and deeper, this shame that they were feeling and that the community was imposing on them, this sense of shame and failure, even in his father's parents' eyes. His father Yoshiko, his parents, they were, I think, at one point wanted him to separate from his wife and that sort of thing and marry somebody else. So here comes the third pregnancy, Masuyo. It's another girl. So you can imagine and so at this point, this is a non-Christian culture. This is a culture. It's a Buddhist culture. The joke, and sort of joke, there's some half truths in it about modern Japan, is the Japanese are born Buddhist, marry Western or Christian, and die Shinto. So they say marry Christian because there's this, I guess it's at a certain point it was very popular, the white dress, the bride in the white dress, the whole Western style wedding became very popular. So they would go to Buddha and pray to Buddha and appeal. And so the community basically considered the Tanemori family cursed by Buddha for having 3 girls and no boy. So finally, the 4th pregnancy, Takashi Tanemori was born. So they were somewhat redeemed, okay? That in the eyes of their community, and in really their own eyes. And his father treated him as kind of like the vanguard of the family's honor in the future. Like he was the keeper of the honor. Like he was going to carry on the honor of the family name, the Tanemori name. So he went on and had a little brother, Sadayoshi, and then a baby sister, Sayoko. So a total of 6 children, family of 8. And so by the time he was, let's see, how old was Sayoko? Because he was born in 37. So he was, I guess Sayoko was 2 years old when the bomb dropped. And so a little bit more leading up to before the bomb drop, um, as he was growing up these 8 years, unfortunately, this boy, who's the long-awaited firstborn son, who's supposed to restore and bring honor and to the family and carry it into the future and have his own sons, etc. He was left-handed, and in Japanese society at that time, that was considered shameful. So he was literally forced. This is really the beginning of, I would say, his, I'll call it his suffering. Some things he suffered is that he was forced to use his right hand. His left hand would literally be tied behind his back. His own mother, not to throw shade on her, but he struggled with this for sure, as I imagine anybody would. His mother was pretty strict about this, and they felt, and the parents felt a lot of pressure again in their community to do whatever needed to be done to preserve the honor of the family. And so they forced Tanemori-san to be right-handed. They forced him to eat right-handed, to write right-handed for school assignments by tying his left hand behind his back. And he eventually learned how to write with his right hand. But I don't believe he abandoned using his left hand either. I think he basically embraced being ambidextrous ultimately. So, my father was left-handed. One of my kids is left-handed, so they would have been looked down upon in Japan 100 years ago. So, and so here he is. He's supposed to be this vanguard of the family honor, and here he's having trouble. Now he also had trouble in school. He really struggled. Part of it had to do with this left-handedness and other things. I mean, you couldn't hide having your left hand tied behind your back and that sort of thing in school. So he did not do well in school at first. He eventually did do better, but as you can hear, he had a rough start, and there was a lot of pressure put on him. I don't know if you know anybody, as you're watching this, you think of anybody, maybe it's you or somebody in your family or a friend who maybe a single parent family, and then one of the kids has to kind of step in and fill the shoes for that missing parent. Like, let's say it's a single mom with a boy, and then he's got to kind of be the man of the house. I have some close family, close friends. It's I'll say an immigrant family, and when I met the 5 children, the father had just passed away in a traffic accident. He was a truck driver, and so here's a woman who's a widow with 5 children from about age 7 to an infant, and the 7-year-old, over the couple years I knew him, when I lived next to them, and then the years since, I mean, he had to become the man of the house. And actually, I'll tell his story in the future. Perhaps it's an incredible story, very inspirational story to me personally. But he, in his teens, maybe when he was 16 or so, he just started working with an uncle, doing some physical labor, and he saved every penny he could. And he basically had a mission from a very young age, a very personal mission from about age 7 or 8, that it was his responsibility to take care of his family. And so they were living in an apartment at the time. So here he is, getting older and still living in an apartment. Age 16, started working, saving every penny. He eventually bought his mother a condo. He bought his mother a car, really high-end, really a quality car. And he helped put some of his little siblings through school, younger siblings, through school, like college. And sadly, he passed away when he was in his early 20s in an accident. right when the youngest one was about ready to graduate high school. So it was kind of uncanny. I mean, it's very tragic, like one of the saddest losses I've ever witnessed, experienced myself, but it's really kind of uncanny how he fulfilled this mission, personal mission, and there's a whole story behind it that's very deep, to care for his family and meet their needs and help them, to just overcome the great loss of her husband and their father. So I just, you may think of other people, but here's this young man who's expected to be, the honor bearer for his family. Now, he had 3 older sisters, but it was, in that culture, it's very different. They were not, going to be in that, perceived that way. So that's just a little introduction about Tanemori-san's beginnings. We'll get more into it, and I look forward to telling you more about this remarkable man.